Hey guys, it's Jason J. Rice here, and today is an episode of the Mogul Next Door. So you guys know what we do here. What we do is we introduce you guys to moguls that you may not necessarily know that aren't like on a public stand, like your Beyonce's, your Diddy's, or whatever. But these are guys that are doing super amazing things in business. And today we have a treat. We have Keith Anderson, the owner of, co-owner of KPElite Team here in Arizona, and I can't wait to get into this conversation today because I've been on his team and learned so much from him. You guys are going to in for a treat. So let's just jump right into it. So Keith, what? So I like to start all things with like the spark, because I know a little bit of your story, but the audience doesn't. So let's just start from the beginning, if you're okay with sharing a little bit from going from working at Costco to now having one of the top teams in the state of Arizona producing well over $1 billion per year in revenue.
Uh, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it even starts just from humble beginnings, right? Like when I grew up, I didn't have a ton of stuff. Like my family didn't have like a ton of things. We budgeted for everything. We never ate out. We never had those things. So like we were blessed, and I had great parents that did amazing things to raise us and gave me the mindset I think that I have today. But at the end of the day, it's not like we had vastness, right? And so with that mindset, I've always wanted to be better. I've always been extremely competitive and all of those things. So a lot of the steps along the way were just more roadmaps to where we were heading and like where we were wanting to go. And so Costco was just a skipping stone of a small sales job. And man, I was delivering pizzas for Pizza Hut at one point. Like those were all just skipping stones of I'm not there yet. Like I'm not to where I want to be. And then when I finally got into, the biggest sales industry on the planet with real estate, it just clicked. And it wasn't even the fact of selling real estate that clicked. It was just the business, right? Like I needed to be in the business world, building and growing and scaling, because I'm just using real estate as a medium for our business and growth and all our plans. But the actual selling and buying of real estate is not necessarily even what I do anymore. So now it's all launching private equity firms and continue to grow and scale businesses all across the state now, which has been really exciting.
Okay. So take me to that spark though, that spark that said, yo, I can do this and I can be really, really good at this and I can help other people excel as well.
I think the first time where someone fully trusts you in any process, where it was like I just told them what to do and they just accepted it blindly and said, clearly we have confidence that your ability is what we need to achieve our goal or our outcome as clients. The first couple times that happened in real estate, I was like, oh, like I'm good at this. Like I got this. And then I realized it wasn't real estate. It was just confidence and demeanor of problem solving. And so when I started to figure that out, that was kind of the spark that I had, where I thought to myself, it doesn't matter what I'm doing or what I'm creating or what I'm building. Everything is just problem solving and decision making. And knowing that other people want others to do that was key. People don't like making decisions. Like 95% of the planet hates making final decisions. Like everybody's indecisive, especially today. There's 26 different loaves of bread. There's 32 different drinks that you can have. Like how many brands do we run into every single day where we have to make a choice? And we all sit there frozen in fear to make a choice because we're afraid to make a wrong one. Well, people get paid to make big decisions, and people are empowered to make big decisions. And so when I realized like, oh, that's my superpower, was to make that, and people just blindly trust at times because they know through your confidence and your ability that you're going to take care of them. That was that spark that finally hit, was like, oh, like I'm good at that. And now I can take that into everything else I do.
Okay, so let's stay on the spark thing for a little bit because that's you talked a little bit about like what it like I guess and if you break it down like I know because I'm in the business a little bit
Yeah.
and I know you, but take me to the spark where you decided that you know what, I want to build the most dominant team in Arizona. What was the mindset that what were you like, what kind of people were you around that made you feel comfortable doing that, and then what was the mindset and what were some of the loopholes or just learning pains, if you will?
I think it was the opposite from what you said. Like, it's not about the people that I was around that helped me want to do that. It was despite them. Like, it was because of them that I wanted to do it. So Pete and I, when we first started, Pete, my business partner, we started both on a real estate team. So we were on a team that we didn't feel was taking care of anything correctly. Like, they weren't treating people the right way. Agents didn't have a clear incentive or focus to grow and build. And I think that was that initial motivation behind it, which was teams out there suck right now and no one's really treating people the right way. If we did this, this, and this, we would change the game. Like, we would build that out. And I think it was because of that experience of being on a team like that that realized we could do it so much better. And it was that moment where we were like, yeah, let's just go. Let's just go build something bigger than anything. Over time, though, it changes every day. Like, I can't really point a finger to one moment where I was like, I want to have the best team or I want to have the biggest, location or anything like that. Over time, each day, those goals slightly differ. And so now it's not even about growing the absolute biggest real estate team, but providing the best opportunity for the people we're around to succeed in life. And I think that's the difference. Real estate is just one of the areas that they can grow their life and build generational wealth.
So, like any team, and we'll stick on a team a little bit because I know, like right now, who you associate yourself with, matters. Like you want to be
Yep.
around those people that are going to help you with the thought process to, excel. Like I said before, like when I first met you and I first joined the team, like the thought process I had was very different than the thought process I have now.
Yeah.
And I can contribute some of that to you guys. But like, what do you guys look for in the team, or even like in your other businesses? What do you look for to make sure that these people are going to continue to push you to push the envelope and push and help you push them to push the envelope as well?
I think nowadays, no matter what position we're hiring for, or what goal they have in any of our businesses, I think a lot of it is now self-taught motivation and problem-solving skills. So, for instance, if someone wants to do something, instead of always asking and being like waiting for someone to tell them how to do it or what to do, they go and figure it out. They fail, they fail, they fail, they figure it out, they get better, they get better. And I think those are the pieces that make like an average agent a great agent, is one that just seeks knowledge, seeks growth, seeks training, seeks experience. Like, that's a big one. Is some of the most motivating people, not even just in real estate, but in all our businesses. If someone knows how to problem solve, that is a massive advantage for them. If I give them a task in general and they don't even know how to do it, but they go figure out how to do it and then have any type of success at it at all, it doesn't even have to be perfect. It just has to be done. The hard part is when I give a task and then they come back and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Should I do it this way? What about this? Like, do you want me to do this? Do you have this like thought behind this? And it's like constant questions and decision making. And so the people that thrive are people that just make quick decisions and just go, because the worst thing that can happen is you fail, learn some way not to do something, and then keep going. And so that's both in real estate and everything. The quicker to failure is the quicker to success.
Okay. So my next question is more like tactics and strategies. Like, what are some of your tactics to keep the business going? And then what are some of your tactics and strategies and learning where to pivot, where to move into a different business or a different venture, if you will?
Yeah, I think so. A big part of what we've done and grown is ancillary pieces. And so our thought is, if we can let one business help build out another, or how many times can we move that same dollar? Because if we're using this business, but we're spending some of our expenses on this, well, then why not just own that company too? So then I'm really just paying myself for that exact same expense. One of the easy ones that you see all the time is title and mortgage. And we have large networks on that side, and big companies that we've grown and built. So when we do a real estate transaction, we have partners in title, we have partners in mortgage, we have partners across tons of landscapes in the real estate industry. So now, instead of us paying an outside company, we're just letting that dollar circulate through all the companies that we own, and you can start to slowly scale. So like a good example, it would be any type of car industry. Like you see Ford and some of these massive car companies. Well, they own the brake company. They own the shock company. They own the metal company. Like they own everything that helps build the car. Whereas before it was just the engine or just the parts, and then they would bring it all together, but they would outsource the brakes or outsource the shocks and some of these things. And then they realized like, oh wait, like we should just own all of these companies and manufacture them ourselves, and we'll own all the pieces that come together to make what we were making prior. And that's that ancillary wing of, you might just be a great engine company at first, but why don't you just start putting all the pieces together and start manufacturing all of those businesses in scale?
Okay. Um, I guess mentorship. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, and you said like a little, normally like you did it in spite of some people that you're around. But I'm a big believer in mentorship, and I'm to scale of what you guys built to in such as like a small amount of time in the grand scheme of like building, big businesses. What did you have some mentors helping you through the way, or and they don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be real estate wise. They could just be business people that.
I mean, we take little pieces from everyone that we see. I think that's been the big success story, is like, I don't think there's any one person that's really great at everything, right? Like, but there's hundreds of people that are really good at one or two things, that if you pick that out and you pick that out, then slowly you just get good at everything. But it is kind of funny that Pete and we had a few people that just influenced us in little short spurts of time, but we still don't have an active full on go mentor. And I think a big piece of that has been Pete and I being kind of each other's mentor through success and growth. Partnerships are really hard to build. Like a majority of companies out there, they're not partnerships because it's such a very unique, tough marriage of business, right? And so you have to be on the same level, the same mindset to really grow a successful partnership. But Pete and I were a perfect fit where we would counterbalance each other just enough. And by doing that, we were able to kind of push each other through those times and help each other grow. And I would be able to be his mentor in this piece, or he'd be my mentor in that side. For instance, like growth and maturity. When I started in real estate, I was 22. Like I was a baby. Just shoot, I should be out in the bars, partying, hanging out, doing that. I was single. I was living on my own, like, and I was starting to make good money. And so that was that stage of my life when we first started. But I think being around someone in their late 30s already, that's already got kids and a family, that elevated my mindset and mentored me in personal development, right? Whereas Pete was a little bit in the stage of being older, and I was way more outgoing and way more innovative and way more focused on the vision of and excitement and energy of growth. And I truly believe he's more energetic today because of me. And if I wasn't around, he wouldn't necessarily carry that same prowess, right? And so we were able to grow each other in ways. So in all reality, I would say mentorship, in a weird way, we kind of mentored each other to where we're at today.
Okay, so I know a lot of people are interested to know a little bit about like how does your partnership like work, like the balance and the flows of, because I know there's probably like hard days and
Oh yeah.
and like, hey, I don't agree with this.
Oh yeah.
But how do you guys like? I mean, I've seen these guys together. They're thick as thieves. You would never know like if they're like, you could tell sometimes where like they're coming out of a stressful meeting, they're just like, they both go their separate ways, and you're like, that's odd.
Yeah.
But like, how do you guys continue to how would you advise like some of the listeners or whatever to keep that bond together with their partners?
Humility, 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 humility. There's no other trait. Like people will say communication, but good communication comes from humble beginnings. People will say compromise, but again, compromise comes from being humble. And so if you leave your ego at the door, if you really don't care whose way was the best way or who gets the credit or what that looks like, it's easy to make decisions. Even if you don't think yours is right and you're like, oh, well, I don't care. I'll take the risk. We'll just go with yours this time. And it always comes back full circle. Like you'll have wins and they'll have wins, but who cares? And I think that's the hardest part in business specifically. There's so much ego out there. Everyone's focused on their name or their brand or who gets the credit for this or being in the front stage or being loud or being big. And at the end of the day, does it really matter? Like if your whole goal is to help provide a better family experience for your life and your family and the people you're around, who cares whose name's on the door or what's going on or whose decision it was to build that? And so if you come from a place of humility, it's just like that for marriage, just the same. Like if you take away the business side, marriage partnership and a business partnership are the exact same thing. So if you treat your spouse and your business relationships in the same concept of putting other people first, being humble in those decisions and those thoughts, leaving your ego at the door, how much better would someone's marriage be if you always thought about the other person or the success of the business as a whole? And so 100%, if you're struggling in a partnership out there, or you're looking to go into a partnership and you know you have a big ego, I wouldn't do it. Like, don't do it. Just do your own show then, because you will run into issues later, because egos always find each other and butt heads. That's the beauty with Pete and I, is we don't really have a lot of ego now. Like, we realize that it's not worth it and just keep pushing.
Okay, cool. So I always like the balancing act. Like, you say when you got in, you were young. I know
Yeah.
now you're a family man.
Yeah.
And you run a very profitable, large business that may require a lot of hours plus because, having, I don't know how big your team is now. I know when I was there, we were about 100 and something members. So that's more like 100 and something people that are coming to you for advice, like almost like your kids. So
No, yeah.
how is that? How do you balance everything? What's your day to day in balancing everything? And then what's your advice for someone that wants this type of lifestyle?
First and foremost, you got to find a way to delegate. Like, we keep continuing to hire staff and people to help us. It's not just Pete and I doing this. Like, we have now a staff, I think, of 13, and we have 9 virtual assistants on top of that. And that's just one of the companies. That's the main KPElite one. And so delegation is huge, and being okay with someone else doing that job, even if that job's not as good as you would have done it. Like, you have to be okay with that. I'd rather have them do it at 80% than me spend all my time on it and get 85. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not worth it. So delegation's a big one to give your time back. Avoid decision fatigue. That's the other big one, is try and remove all of the decisions that you don't have to make. So my wife and I, we have conversations about this all the time. Like, when I was young, I had to make all the decisions because I was the only person I had to care about. But now I have a family. And so small things as a leader go a long ways, such as deciding what to have for dinner. You don't need to have that decision when you've already been dealing with decisions all day long. And so now my wife knows that. Like, if she asks me, like, hey, Keith, what do you want to have for dinner? I'm like, I can't, like, whatever you want. Like, I don't care. I will literally eat grass right now. I do not care, because the mindset is, I'm out of decisions that day. Like, I ran the race that day. And so to have good balance and be able to focus on your family and focus on that life how you want, decision fatigue is big, and delegate those things, and do your toughest things in the morning. You'll hear everybody talk about that, but it's because you don't have decision fatigue yet. So most of the time people feel like that because they're making decisions late into the night and they're just done. They're tired. But if you have your hardest task in the morning, you can make your decisions and get out, and then everything else is easier. So more than the hardest jobs, make your toughest decisions to start your day, and that'll help you balance out the rest of your day.
Okay. Let's go back into real estate. You've been doing it for a while. I always like to ask, anytime I'm in a room with cameras could be on or off or anything. Anytime I'm in a room with someone that's doing it a lot better than I'm doing it, I always ask, and I think the listeners may want to know, where do you see in the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see real estate going?
It's a loaded question. We could have done the whole podcast on just that, to be honest. So we do market updates every quarter. We talk about that in the immediate future. For the immediate listeners, we see rates really high right now. We see one of the toughest transactional times in the real estate marketplace than we've ever seen. I think the Fed pushed the envelope a little too far, and they know it, and everybody else knows it. And so we're going to see a rate pullback of some sort in the next 18 months. We don't know how big that's going to be, but it's going to be there, and they're going to get political pressure to do that. And we're going to see that. Right now, they're at that fine line. Even if they come out and say, hey, we're just not going to do any rate hikes, they're going to get political pressure coming in November of next year, and really need to make some adjustments and make some moves, right? And so that's going to happen. In the next 5 years, I think what's really changing is going to be the life of the real estate agent. I think the way agents do business today is going to vastly change. There's a lot of outside parts that move. The MLS may not be in existence in the next 5 years. That's one of the big ones that I have partners and other big big industry leaders that are all talking about the fact that we may not have individual area MLS at some point. Right now, across the entire marketplace, there's MLSs all over. But what happens when Zillow becomes the number one place to be able to go to, and you don't even need MLS anymore, right? Like, there's a lot of pieces in play. I think real estate agent commission gets compressed even more massively. We already see pieces of it. We may even go to a flat fee model across the board, and that changes real estate entirely for everybody. So I think the only industries that don't really feel the weight is going to be commercial and luxury. But your traditional median priced house, that real estate agent, it's going to adjust. It's going to change for the life of that agent.
So what you're saying now is like if you're an agent that's only dealing in, below luxury, not commercial,
Yeah.
they need to figure their stuff out and start figuring out how to either propel their business
Yeah.
or we have 5 years to get as much as we can get out of it right now.
I think that's a piece, but you need to join a system, a team. The individual agent's going to be done in 5 years. I don't see it happening. Even brokerages are going to consolidate, and if it's a brokerage full of individual agents, it's not going to work. That brokerage is going to have to move to a team model where they're adding systems and structure. Like, I truly believe that our industry might be cut to a fourth, and then that fourth of the agent count that we have now is going to do all of the transactions. So even if they're like, think about it this way: if a real estate agent had more systems and more structure, and they made a third of the income, but there was a fourth of the agents out there, they technically still have the opportunity and threshold to make more money than they were before. However, there's only a fourth of them that lasted. So 3/4 of the industry would leave. And those might be drastic numbers, but at the end of the day, a lot of the signs we see in the next 5 to 7 years are pointing to continued compression and consolidation. We've just had our first season where the agent count actually decreased over these last 6 months. First time in like since I think 2007 or 8. So
Yeah.
it's the first time. And so those are things to think about, that it's going to happen. We just don't know to what scale.
Okay. Running a big thing. What's your biggest lesson? Like, what's a setback that may have happened that taught you something that you're never going to forget, and you're going to take it with you through, it's going to be like one of the pillars that you take as you continue to build and scale?
People you hire aren't you. So why would you expect them to be? Like, I think we hold people to a really, really high standard when we train or when we hire for staffing or whatever, and we're expecting it to be done the way we would do it. And that's just flat out not going to be the case. And so I now look to hire people that are good at their craft or their skill or their build, and they're going to do it differently than me, and I'm okay with that. So, and if I'm expecting them to have the same dedication that I do running and owning the company, then I'm not looking at it the right way. So that's a big piece, because now in our scale, we do so much hiring and we do so much business growth now. So I avoid thinking or having that expectation that they're going to do something like I would. And it helps drop the bar a little bit, and then I train them up to where I feel comfortable with them being at.
How long ago? I mean, not long ago, but how long did it take you to get to that place? Because I know me, for instance, like,
Yeah.
I like to have my hand in everything, and I'm trying to delegate and be like, hey, you do this and you do that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, now I have someone, like, I love shooting, so I'm doing a one-man band. I'm hosting, lighting, everything, because I'm weird that way. But I do have an editor, because that's one of the things that I don't like to do.
That's great. Let's start with that. It took me about 3 or 4 years to finally figure out, like, why do I keep getting so frustrated with my staff? And it's because I had an expectation that they would want it as bad as I do, or they would treat it like it's their own company. But in reality, it's not their company. It's sometimes it's just a job for people. And so that's a big piece of it. And then finding people that are truly loyal to the cause, that see the vision the same way you do, is huge. And then just be okay with delegating tasks you don't like, and be okay with the product that you get from it.
Okay. Be okay with the product. You heard that, guys. Be okay with the product you get from delegating, but make sure that you can coach them up to get to 80% of what you would do.
That's about what you'll get. You're going to be at about 80. You're never going to get 100% of what you do, unless you're hiring someone that's actually better at you at that task, or an expert in that field, right? Like, there's no way I'm editing a video any capacity at a high level. Like, I don't even, Adobe, is that what we're working on, right?
I mean,
So Photoshop, we get.
well, right now, man, which is weird, will lead into my next question. Like, I've been studying, like, my friend's AI.
Okay.
Like, my friend works for Turner.
Okay.
He sent me a thing about, hey, dude, like, cause I did a video and
Yeah.
the audio was crap. So my
Okay.
friend goes, hey, here's
Clean this up.
clean this up. Here's an AI that'll just do it for you.
That's
You don't
great.
even have to, you don't even have to do anything. You just
Wow.
plug it in and it'll balance it. It'll do all the stuff. And I'm like, yo, and he was like, and then he was like, also you like he was like, I had a hiss in my audio, and he was
Yeah.
like, it'll take the hiss out. I ran it through it. 30 seconds
Perfect.
later, perfect.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, I think marketing and the AI experience that we're seeing in the marketplace is definitely the future of where we're heading, right? The more and more I look at it, the best use for AI right now is just outlining. Like, there's no point in trying to come up with creative content anymore. So I think it's the best advantage and the worst thing possible for us, because we are now in a place where we're too lazy to become original anymore. Now everybody's just going to recycle and recycle and recycle, and AI is just going to make it easier for us to recycle or outline based on everything out in the marketplace. Um, I don't know how they're going to track plagiarism or any type of like thing like that now, because it's going to get used in so many different ways and so many times. Like, good luck, lawyers. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's
Like,
crazy because every day it seems like, I mean, because they're in real estate, so list reports they just said they got a new AI.
they're all getting it.
Yeah, it's like crazy. Even our PR now, you can actually take data. The AI can like you don't even have to like. I mean, I'm mad. I started studying like this guy. He's always like, Jason, know your numbers.
Yeah.
Jason, know your
Yeah.
numbers. Jason, what? Why? You know why you're sucking? Because you don't know your numbers. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. But now you literally can be like, hey, here's this the whatever the state or the city. What are the numbers? It'll just give it to you.
Done.
Done. You don't have to research it and know how to talk
Nothing.
about it. It formats it for you. It's wild.
It just
But
helps us stop Googling so hard. Like, we know how to
true.
Google way better now. And I think it's helping bridge that gap and efficiency.
Yeah, I think so too. So for expiring moguls, if you could give one piece of advice for someone to looking to follow your footsteps, what would it be?
Man, that was like one of the toughest questions that like I was thinking through and trying to figure out. Was everybody's so vastly different. So I think it starts with just finding something that you love, right? And then building off of what you love. Like, a lot of people I talk to, they're like, man, I don't have any passions. I don't know what I want in life. I don't know what my purpose is. Like, that's like their current like state. And then you have different people who are super driven and their hands are in everything. But it was like, yeah, like that might make money, right? Or like that might work out. But is that really what you want to be doing every single day? Like, is that your goal, or is that your part of your business life? And what I value truest success is if you can find a way to integrate your passion into a place that you can build success and make money doing it. That's really what it's all about. Like, I've talked to people that are talk show hosts or like do news reporting or things like that. And it's like, it's not like they make a ton of money. Like, they do well, but they love that. Like, that's their vibe. Like, they'll do that every day for the rest of their life. And so I think if you want to do anything, find a passion and find a way to make that a business. Because anything out there that you love to do, you can create a business around it. Like, literally anything. Take 5 minutes and you can ask AI what a business would be around the item that you want to do. You know, like if you love snowboarding, I guarantee you can figure out a way to start up a snowboard shop or develop a new type of snowboard or whatever, like using that as a random example. So start with a huge list every passion that you possibly have. Like, what would you spend your day if time or money wasn't an option every single day? And take that and create a business out of it. Find a way to build a business plan through that.
Okay. So legacy. You decided, like, hold on one second. When you decide to step away, and you say, "Hey," I mean, you're already doing some of the stuff. You're like, "Hey, I'm delegating." But when you decide to just say, "Hey, I'm just going to delegate the entire thing, and I'm just going to step away and maybe ride off into the sunset," what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I would say to make a correction to that, I don't think I'm ever riding off in the sunset because, like, I don't even believe in retirement. So, like, if I give up one thing, then I'm just going to be, like, working on a different thing, I guess. So I don't know if there'll ever be a write-off, but I get what you're saying. And I think my legacy that if I could leave would be a man of faith, a man with humility, and a man that just a servant leader. Like, those are my three. Like, if I could be considered a servant leader that was humble and left their ego at the door and is a strong man of faith that cared about others, yeah, that's all that matters.
Okay, so this next part is going to be a little fun, maybe. It's rapid fire. I didn't put the question on the rapid
That's
fire
fine.
because I wanted to kind of see where you went. And of course, a high rise in the city or a like nice home. I don't know what to call it, but on the beach.
High rise in the city.
High rise. I wouldn't have figured that you would have.
I grew up on a farm. I like the beach, but it's dirty. I like.
We're not talking about like a dirty beach. We're like, come on now.
Beach house.
No,
you're thinking like Tony Stark, like out on the water.
Yeah,
like
I'm
that
talking.
type of thing.
You could. I mean, I have seen what you guys have built now. So when it's that time,
can the high rise have a hilly pad so I don't have to go through the streets? I can just fly in.
No, just a dope high rise in like Manhattan, which you might not like, or that's my favorite, one of my favorite cities in the world. So I'm gonna always say that.
Like, you're not talking about my office. Like, you're talking about like where do I live?
Yeah, where you live. Yeah.
Oh, then then I'd go on the beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would I be talking about you? No, this is like
I'm thinking high rise on in Miami, on the beach. What about that? Like,
See, this guy's always figuring out.
We'll go to Miami. We'll go on the beach.
Yeah. Okay.
And it'll be a high rise.
Let me see. Here's it. Basketball or football?
Play basketball, watch football.
No. Okay. See,
it's rapid fire. Play basketball, watch football.
Play basketball, watch football. Okay. Leisure time, and I know the answer to this. Leisure time. Golf, or see,
you don't even get a chance, man. Golf. Yeah. I don't even know what the other one is.
Yeah, I was going. It was. It was. Stupid.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because I knew the answer.
It's to golf.
One. Yeah, it's golf. I just wanted to see like if he. But yeah, this guy in golf,
That's it.
That's
I love it. Yeah.
All right. So to end, in conclusion, if your journey was to be captured in a documentary, like 60-minute segment.
Yeah.
What would the title be and why?
Oh, man. What would be the title of a documentary about my life?
Just that, but just the 60-minute headline. Just like the tagline, and then why that tagline?
It's tough, but it's I don't even that was like it's so tough to like give yourself like a headline for your entire documentary, because typically documentaries are about like rough people doing bad things. So like I'm thinking, I'm like,
really.
okay,
they did a documentary about Schwarzenegger. They did a documentary about they did a documentary about Jordan. I mean, so there's not.
I guess I'd probably do Tenacity.
Okay,
it would just be called Tenacity.
I like that.
And it's just the desire and the willingness to just be better. Be better.
I said that was going to end, but I want to end on this. So the willingness to be better. And I've sat in conversations with you about being better, getting better. How do you
get better?
Well, yeah, but on a day-to-day basis, like how do you go from I did great yesterday.
Yeah.
I gotta top that today.
Yeah.
And I know your personality.
Yeah.
Your personality is always like literally no joke. Like literally it's always like, okay, I did one more, I gotta do two. Like how do you keep that hunger and fire going?
I'm gonna quote Kobe Bryant on this. LTLTM. Have you ever heard him say that?
No.
You know what that stands for?
No.
Learn to love the mud.
Okay.
And what it means is like, don't be afraid to get dirty and learn to love to get dirty, because we're in the mud. It's in the process that everything happens. So once you learn to love the mud, like your whole life changes because you love the grind, you love the hustle. So like the example for like people using basketball. It's like, are you putting up 1,000 shots a day? Are you doing your grind? Are you tracking your stuff? Are you in the gym early and in the gym late? That was Kobe. That was MJ. Like, that was people like that, in the sense of they loved the process, the dirty work that no one really wants to do. Like, everybody wants to hit the game winner, the buzzer beater, make all that money, live in the high rise. Like, everybody wants that type of a moment. But at the end of the day, you never get that moment unless you love the mud, because you're going to practice that moment over and over and over again. And so if you want to be the best, if you want to be better, you have to learn to love the crap that no one wants to do and be willing to do it when no one else is.
Okay. I think that's a good way to end. So, guys, thank you so much for checking us out, watching all the platforms. Please like, subscribe, all the things. And, if you felt value in this, please just comment below, hey, I felt value. If you want to reach out to Keith, where can they reach you at?
My email is keith@kpeliteaz.com if you guys ever want to send any emails out. And you can find us on Instagram and Facebook and all our other social channels. And we do a podcast also, if you're thinking about Arizona market news, at the KP Podcast. So feel free to reach out and subscribe to our stuff as well.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.